Hi everyone, welcome to the Rugby League History channel. Today I'll be doing my tips for round 4 of the 2023 NRL season. Last week I got 4 out of 8 correct. However, in 3 of those matches, the result was decided by 4 points or less. So if Lady Luck were on my side, maybe I would have had 7 out of 8 instead of 4 out of 8. But anyways, we go into round 4 of the 2023 NRL season. The first match is on Thursday and it's between Parramatta and Penrith in the 2022 NRL Grand Final rematch. Between these two sides previously, there's been 107 matches played. Parramatta's won 60, Penrith's won 46, and there's been 1 draw. However, in the last 10 encounters, Penrith have won 7 matches and Parramatta's won 3. Penrith coming into this match off the bye, whereas with Parramatta they've conceded 64 points in the last 2 games. I watched their match last week against Manly. They made a lot of daft mistakes and errors. 2 of the tries come off plays which I thought were quite silly and didn't need to happen, and Manly scored off both of those. I think with Parramatta, their defence has been poor the last 2 games. However, the resolve to coming back into that game against Manly will give some of the fans confidence going into the weeks ahead. For this match, however, I'll go for Penrith to win 1-12 coming off the bye at Western Sydney Stadium. This Parramatta side has real 2018 vibes about it, and I think that Penrith will win the match and Parramatta will go 0-4 to start the year. Going into the first of the Friday matches, this one is between Melbourne and West Tigers. It's being played at Amy Park in Melbourne. West Tigers have started the year with 3 losses in a row, whereas Melbourne are coming off back-to-back losses against Canterbury and the Gold Coast. In the last match where Melbourne conceded 38 points, it was the highest amount of points that they've conceded in a game since they conceded 40 points in a match against Canberra back in 2012. With the West Tigers, their last win in Melbourne were 2018, and Melbourne have won their last 4 fixtures against West Tigers, including 2 scorelines which read 50 points to 22 and 66 points to 16. Even though Melbourne have lost the last 2 matches, I'm going to go for Melbourne to bounce back and beat the West Tigers. I think that they'll win 1-12 points there on the Friday in Melbourne. And the second match and the main match on the Friday is a promoter's dream. It's Redcliffe, or as you want to call them, the Dolphins, against Brisbane, and this one's being played at Suncorp Stadium in the Brisbane Derby. Both of these sides are going into the fixture having won both their 3 matches, and I think with both sides that they've been impressive. Both sides have shown resilience as well. They haven't had it all their own way, and they've had to come back in the matches, as did Brisbane last week against St George, and in round 2 where Redcliffe come back to beat Canberra. I'm expecting this match to be a sellout. I don't think there'll be a single seat left available for this game. It's the first Brisbane derby between these 2 sides, and as I said earlier, it's the promoter's dream. This is going to be a huge match. It's really a flip of the coin. Both sides have been playing very well to start the year, and there's not really too much to split them between. But I'll go for Brisbane to win just on the Friday there. I'll go for them to win by 6 points. I just have a feeling that Brisbane will win. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Redcliffe pull off a result. There are only 2 matches on the Super Saturday. The first one is between North Queensland and the Gold Coast, and this one's being played at the Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. North Queensland have won 7 of the last 10 fixtures against the Gold Coast, and the Gold Coast have only won twice in Townsville since 2012. This fixture by some is considered a rivalry or a derby, but I see this more as a thing from the Gold Coast side of things. I noticed that BKR, Clarkie's NRL column, Rugby League, in my opinion, they really like to get up for this match against North Queensland, whereas North Queensland supporters don't even really consider the Gold Coast as much as a rival. So I imagine if the Gold Coast to win this match, you'll see BKR Sport and Clarkie really perk up and make a lot of noise about the victory. Going into this match, Gold Coast come off a very high scoring victory over Melbourne, and North Queensland come off a very disappointing loss against the New Zealand Warriors. One thing of note with the Gold Coast, in the last two matches, they conceded 32 points against St George and they conceded 34 points against Melbourne. So Justin Holbrook would not be happy with the defensive effort from the Gold Coast side. And against a North Queensland team that can score a lot of points, that's not a really good omen going into this match. For this game, I'm going to go for North Queensland to win, 1-12. I think this could be a high-scoring game, but surely North Queensland can't lose two in a row at home in Townsville, so I'm going to go for North Queensland to win, 1-12 there on the Saturday. And the second match on Super Saturday is between South Sydney and Manly. This one's being played at Stadium Australia. South Sydney have won the last 6 fixtures in the NRL against Manly. However, Manly did record that victory in the NRL trials before the season began. South Sydney come into this fixture with a 1-3 record, and for Manly, they're currently flying high at the moment. They've won both of their matches, and they've also got the 2 points from the bye, so they sit on 6 points. I watched the match against Manly in Parramatta last week, and I thought that Manly started the match very well, but then they switched off for a bit there, which allowed Parramatta to get back in the game. And I also think that Anthony Seibold will not be happy with conceding 30 points in that match. With Manly, I thought that they were a bit lucky to win that game in the end because Parramatta made a few daft errors in attack and in defence, which allowed Manly to score a couple of gifted tries off the back of that. So even though that they won the match there last Thursday, I don't think that they were entirely 100% convincing. As for the prediction for this game, I think it'll be a highly entertaining match. I think that you'll see a few tries from both sides. Both sides have come into the year with decent form, I think. And it's a real flip of the coin match. It'll be very similar to the Redcliffe against Brisbane game. However, I'll go for South Sydney to win just. I think it'll be either by 6 points or less. So I'll go for South Sydney to win 1-12 on Saturday night. And the first of the Sunday matches sees New Zealand against Canterbury Bankstown. This one's being played at Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland. New Zealand have won their last 4 encounters against Canterbury Bankstown, and Canterbury's last win in New Zealand come in 2014. Both sides are coming off a victory. I thought that New Zealand were very impressive against North Queensland, and as for Canterbury, they were the better team for pretty much most of the match, but they almost did let West Tigers come back into the game late on. So it were a better performance, but not 100% convincing as far as I'm concerned. For this match, this is very similar to the South Manly game and the Redcliffe Brisbane match. It could go either way, but I'll go for New Zealand to win 1-12 at home there in Auckland on the Sunday. I think that New Zealand can win this match, especially when it's at home in front of the home crowd. And the second of the Sunday matches is between Newcastle and Canberra. This one's being played at the McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. The head-to-head between these two sides in recent times has been quite even. Canberra's been getting a couple of wins, Newcastle's been getting a couple of wins, so in recent times there's no side that's been better than the other. A heavily depleted Newcastle come off a loss against Redcliffe last week, whereas Canberra just got over the line against Cronulla. For this match, it's really hard to call. It's very similar to the Redcliffe and Brisbane game and also the South and Manly match. It could go either way. It's really hard to tell, but based off what I've seen so far this year and considering that Newcastle have a few injuries out, I'll have to go for Canberra to win 1-12 there in Newcastle on the Sunday. And the final game to close out round 4 of the 2023 NRL season is between St George and Cronulla. This one's being played at Kogarah Oval. If you include the St George side and St George Illawarra as the same club, against Cronulla there's been 110 matches played. Cronulla's won 53, St George have won 54, and there's been 3 draws. Cronulla have won their last 6 encounters against St George in the NRL. For this match as well, the highly anticipated return of Nicholas Hines will happen. I believe that he will be named in the squad to face St George on the Sunday. As for this match, it's a derby game. It's one of the most fierce rivalries in the NRL. Both sides hate each other. The supporters hate each other. Both teams are going to be up for this one. Hopefully, it's good weather at Canterbury Oval because I want to see a big crowd between these two sides. It's always a great fixture to watch. However, for this match, I'm going to go for Cronulla to win 1-12. I think the inclusion of Nicholas Hines is a massive win for Cronulla. And I think this will be a really high entertaining match. I think there'll be a few tries scored. This game might seesaw. St George will probably go in front. Cronulla will go in front. But I think overall Cronulla will win this match 1-12 there at Canterbury and get the bragging rights. So that concludes my video for round 4 of the 2023 NRL season. Let me know in the comment section below who you're tipping and let me know who you think's going to win this week. And thank you for making me one of the most watched tipping videos on YouTube. The numbers the last couple of weeks have been very good and I've been really happy with the fan engagement. So hopefully it continues into the future. My next video will be the 2023 Round 6 tips for the Betfred Super League, and following on from that will be the View from the North podcast with Dave, aka Just Rugby League, on the Wednesday night. So anyways, it's been Rugby League history, and I'll catch you all later in the next one. Alright, tatty bye for now.